Announcing the arrival of Brother Muhammad Abdul Latif, Deputy Director of IIUM World Debate and Oratory Center, IWOD. Puan Syamira Atika binti Mat Asmi, Assistant Director of IWOD, and Brother Muhammad Iqmal Hakimi bin Muhammad Helmi, Head of Department, IWOD. Honorable guests, brothers and sisters, let us start our ceremony by singing the national anthem Negaraku and IIUM song Leading the Way.
Let's lead the way, light the future, share the wisdom, till the spirit of its life. Revelation, reach down, shall accept, shall relay. Merging faith and grounding between the Khalifa. We will so free. Together, we make the world a better place. Forever, expand the culture of people of our life. It's the lives that we are. Together, we make the world a better place. Forever, expand the culture of people of our it's the lives that we are. Mercy to all the worlds for all mankind.
Honorable guests, brothers and sisters, you may be seated.
Sana kan? Bos datang apa pakai baju ni sebenarnya?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. First and foremost, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, let us begin the ceremony with the recitation of Ummul Kitab Al-Fatiha. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome our honorable guests. First, Brother Muhammad Abdul Latif, Deputy Director of IIUM World Debate and Oratory Center, IWOD, Puan Nur Syahirah Atikah binti Mat Azmi, Assistant Director of IWOD, and Brother Muhammad Ikmal Hakimi bin Muhammad Helmi, Head of Department, IWOD. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan and welcome to the grand final for English category and prize giving ceremony of the 21st IIUM Interschool Debating Championship 2024. And welcome to the International Islamic University Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, let us express our gratitude to Allah because with His abundant grace, we can gather together for the grand final and prize-giving ceremony this evening. My name is Sister Aisha Hana binti Azmal, and I will be your MC for today. Honorable guests, brothers and sisters, in seeking further blessings from Allah, let us start this wonderful gathering by calling upon Brother Luqmanul Hakim bin Ghazali to lead the dua recitation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Umul Kitab Al-Fatihah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا الله فعال لما يريد. We express our gratitude to you for allowing us to attend the IIM debate competition for 2024. Oh Allah, we ask you for the safety of our religion and the welfare of our body. Oh Allah, Lord of the implementing authority, make the days that we have gone through starting with your mercy, continued with your blessing and righteous guidance, and then with forgiveness. Make the days that we have gone through spent in your obedience, adorn us with the adornment of righteous, and clothe us with ornament of the pious in spreading good behavior, lowering the wing of humility, beauty of conduct, advancing toward excellence, avoiding condemnation, being gracious in the undeserving, speaking truth to bitter. Ya Allah, Ya Muhaiminu, Ya Azizu, Ya Jabbar, show us guidance and adjust our path and ways to achieve happiness and glory. Let us listen to people who like the good things. Let us avoid doing the bad and evil things. Oh Allah, bless our life in this meeting and gathering and prevent us from harm and unfortunate events. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alameen. Thank you to Brother Luqmanul Hakim for leading the dua recitation just now. Honorable guests and esteemed audience, are you ready for the debate? Alright, so without further ado, let us proceed to our main agenda for today. Distinguished guests, announcing the arrival for our finalists today, followed by our respected adjudicators. First, opening government from Sekolah Seri Puteri A, followed by opening opposition from Malay College Kuala Kangsar C. Next, the closing government from SDAR A. And last but not least, the closing opposition from KYSB. Now, introducing our esteemed educators for today, which consists of the debaters from the IIUM Debate Club. We have Brother Hanafi Hanifi, Sister Wan Nur Atifah, Sister Munira Abdullah, Brother Nabil Hani, Brother Anas Zaharim, Brother Adib Shahid, and Brother Said Ibrahim. With that, I pass the floor to our esteemed chairperson and judge, Brother Hanafi Haniki, to start the debate.
Hello everyone, I will not be using the microphone, but I'm sharing the debate with my panel. So without further ado, debating the motion, debating the motion, assuming a cure has been found, if we believe that the cure for mortality should remain unpublished, we invite the Prime Minister. Here. To the debaters, you should time yourself, but we also clap to indicate first and 6 minutes.
That's
Members of the floor, we see that for a fact, for years, human beings have lived with a mindset that your life will eventually come to an end. And thus, I say that at that point, then only human beings have actually been able to appreciate the people around them, to actually appreciate the life that they have with them. But I don't think that by publishing the cure for mortality, will you actually be able to maintain the mindset that these human beings have had for such a long time. Now, I'll be the Prime Minister on side of government. I'll be doing a few things in my speech. First of all, I'll be providing proper context of what this debate actually means for us to have a fruitful debate. Second of all, I'll be providing I'll be characterizing this debate. And lastly, I'll be giving two arguments on why we don't think that this cure should be published. Now, but first of all, let's take a look at what status quo looks like. In status quo, we see that for a point, there is no urgency for you to publish the cure for mortality. We see that there are no harms if you don't publish this cure, but we see that for a fact there will be harms if you do tend to publish this cure at the end of the day. But before that, three questions that I think need to be answered by the end of this debate. First of all, why mortality is important to human beings. Number two, why we think it's justified for this mortality cure to be for it to remain unpublished. And lastly, why we think publishing gives more harm than good. But before that, we think that the opposition side needs to prove why exactly is it so important for you to suddenly come up and tell these human beings that, oh, we're the cure for you to suddenly live for the rest of your lives, for you to suddenly live for millions of years. Before I go into my arguments, a few clarifications that need to be set in this debate. First of all, what we mean by cure for mortality is the fact that you're telling these people that, oh, there will be no end to your life, and the fact that you're disrupting the cycle of life, meaning to say that there will be no end to you actually living. And this would also mean that you would live never ending and you would live forever for a million of years and so on. Now, what we mean by publishing is the fact that no one would actually know about this, meaning no one would actually even have the idea of them living forever, and people would just live like normal with a normal mindset that, oh, I should appreciate the people in my life because at the end of the day, my life will come to the end lastly. But before that, something that's very important for me to call and set up is how important life actually is. Now, in life, you see people saying that, Adeline might get an accident tomorrow. I should appreciate her now. I should appreciate the time I have with her. We see that for a fact, these kinds of mindsets or these kinds of narratives have existed with the mindset that people have instilled in them. The fact that your life is not forever. We think that the beauty of life comes with you appreciating the things that come to you each and every single day. With you waking up with another day for you to move on. We say that it's important for you to actually.
Please.
Not now, because it's extremely important for you to actually appreciate the essence of life and appreciate the people around you. Now, before that, two arguments I have on my side. First of all, we're going to prove to you exactly why we think mortality is extremely important for it to continuously exist. Now, three things under this argument. First of all, the cycle of life. I already told you my characterizations. This is the way humans have lived for a long time. Now, they have to understand that they have to continuously understand that your life will come to an end. But second of all, to this argument is it will impact the way that these human beings will actually think. Because when you actually tell them that, oh, when you actually publish this here, you're basically also you're also instilling a mindset in them that will impact the way they think. They will think that, oh, I not only have a one chance in life, but I will continuously have second chances in any mistakes or any accidents I get into. We think that for a fact, when they know that they will live forever, they won't actually live their life to the fullest because they know that they have millions of years to go on, and they won't. And we think that because of this, you won't actually have, not now, you won't actually have any quality relationships because we said that for a fact, the number one change we will impact the way you think, impact the way you act, and impact the way you treat other people, which will at the end of the day impact healthier relationships or like more quality relationships. But lastly, panel, understand that at the end of the day, to be more logic, just like, let's take a step back, understand that at the end of the day, these human beings, they get tired of living for all these years. If you were to be someone who is immortal, imagine living for millions of years, wouldn't you be tired seeing the same people again and again? Wouldn't you be tired and going through the same thing again? Understand that when you're immortal, sit down, you're basically reliving the same thing again and again. We don't think that there's any importance of you doing this. But second argument under our side on why we think it's justified for us to keep this, why we think it's justified for this thing to remain unpublished. Two things under this argument. Number one, we think that just like my second argument, I've already told you that it will change the way they think. But how would this world actually look like when you do publish this here? We think that when you actually do publish this here, you will give a mindset to these people that they will live for millions of years. Now, how will they act? They will act more recklessly, they will act more mindlessly, and they won't actually care about the people surrounding them. They won't actually appreciate the time spent with their friends. If you suddenly come up to me and say that, oh, you should spend more time with your mother because she might be gone soon, but I wouldn't be able to appreciate that because I know that my mother would never die because I know that for a fact there is a cure for mortality. But number two, it would give a bad mindset to these people that, oh, it's fine for me to treat these people in bad way. Not now. And we said that because of this, relationships in the society, in the world that this mindset is instilled in, you won't actually have good quality relationships or relationships with actually like with not now. Sorry. You won't actually have relationships that's high in quality or like good relationship. But last of all, we say that the trade-off on the our side is the fact that maybe you can come up and tell me that maybe this cure for mortality can be for these people who are dying, or these people who are sick, or these people who have gotten in an accident, these people who would prefer another chance at life. But we say that even at the expense of not letting those people having another chance at life, we say that if they do get another chance at life, they won't properly be able to see the beauty of life. Because understand that you giving these other people another chance at life is you at the expense of you letting these people not truly understand the beauty of life. And we think that when you actually give these people the cure, you're basically paying for, which will be further illustrated in my second speech. But panel, I've proven to you exactly what this debate is and why exactly we do it the best. I've told you exactly that we cater to our most vulnerable stakeholder, which is society, and I've proven to you what exactly the harms are, why it's so bad for us to not let this cure be published. But lastly, I think also I'm closing, if they would like to answer us, I don't think that's possible because I've done pretty much in this debate and I've provided you proper context of what this debate actually looks like. To end my speech, I think that this debate goes to side of opening up this debate.
But before that, audience, please be quiet during the debate. Please don't make any audible noises or clap like loudly during the debate. Okay. Without further ado, we invite the leader of opposition. Here.
Yeah.
Kau.
Hello.
Alright, I'll begin my speech. Okay, I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Government side lives in a world where suddenly people are going to become criminals just because they live longer, right? And a few things I'm going to be doing before I say that. Firstly, I'll be doing a few call-outs, few rebuttals, as well as a few clarifications into this debate because of the lacking of mechanization into this debate, as well as provide a few arguments and a few uh, arguments of my own that's going to support our case today. Right? First of all, the government side has to prove to us, the government side still hasn't proved to us how suddenly everyone is gonna go bonkers and become criminals just because they're immortal, right? Well, we need to realize that the systems that are currently in place are still in place, even if everyone will become immortal, right? Things like the CJS, the criminal justice system, things like prison still exist and are still a form of punishment towards people who do unlawful things. So, and a few more responses towards the government side, right? First of all, they say that you're supposed to appreciate the life because the only reason we appreciate life is because of mortality, right? We think that this is kind of false because at the end of the day, if so many people are dying all around the world, how is everyone supposed to appreciate life because of mortality, right? Because my grandma is dying in hospital because of cancer, suddenly she's supposed to appreciate life, the life that she has, right? Because of all the people dying in Africa due to world hunger, suddenly they're all supposed to appreciate the world hunger, right? They appreciate the starvation. We think that this is morally wrong on all rights and shouldn't even be considered a great debate. First of all, a few pieces of framing, right? We have to realize that the government side still hasn't truly given us a picture on what immortality will actually look like and what it will mean to actually have these things be unpublished, right? We tell you that not only does the state have a moral obligation to publish these things because of the fact that it's going to help people on the ground and they have a moral obligation to protect these people, to protect people who are being affected by illnesses and people who are currently experiencing world hunger in Africa, for example, the government and the state has an obligation towards these people to help them and to save them as a whole, right? That's the moral obligation of the government. Next, we tell you that what is immortality actually look like? First of all, immortality looks like, the basic things are removing the human nature that we need to live, or like the specific things we need to live, like for example, eating, drinking, sleeping, whatever. Suddenly we're becoming things that are we're becoming humans that no longer need these things, right? And what that means is that we no longer need things like jobs for agriculture. No longer do we need things like farming. These jobs are now no longer relevant, and we think that this is a good thing for a few reasons, right? First of all, we think that now people are able to reach self-actualization, the highest point of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We think that the only side to prove that this is true is on the opposition side, right? We tell you that the only reason that our side is able to prove this is because now people no longer are forced to work for money in order to eat. We tell you that people are now able to do freely what they want, as long as it's still under this JS system, under laws, right? Because we have to understand, laws are still in place. Systems that we currently have in place to keep order will not suddenly disappear because everyone's immortal, right? And we also have to realize, right, we have to clarify, right, that immortality is not going to be forced upon every single person on this planet, right? We have to realize that just because something is published doesn't mean everyone will go off to do it, right? Things like religion and things like their beliefs or culture will take into play on whether or not they will actually co-opt into becoming immortal at all, right? But at the end of the day, when it becomes an option to become immortal in the first place, it's going to save people who are, it's going to become a sort of cure for all illnesses. For example, people who are suffering from cancer, people who are suffering from things like starvation and etc. are suddenly now no longer a problem, and only now are people able to reach self-actualization and become a better humanity as a whole, right? Now going on, we tell you that now only in the opposition side, where people have the ability to become immortal, is humankind able to progress fully, right? We tell you that now that these menial jobs are no longer needed and people no longer have the requirement to continue eating or to continue sleeping, we tell you that only now is humankind able to develop into a better species as a whole, right? They might tell us that things might deteriorate or whatever in the future, right? We tell you that because of the technological advances that can be made and that will be made because of the incentives by the government, now that a lot of people everyone is able to become immortal, we tell you that only then is humanity able to progress as a whole, technologically, scientifically, and as a species as a whole, right? And we say that the only way this is possible is only on opposition side. Now, few arguments on our side. First of all, we think that only on our side are we able to prove that humanity.
if you're not mortal, you still have development. How is it actually your question?
We tell you that only that exclusive, we tell you the only rapid development is exclusive on one side because when mortality is a thing, right? People are going to have to work to gain money in order to feed themselves. We think that this becomes a burden because people cannot put their entire livelihood into progressing humanity as a whole, right? When you no longer need to sleep, when you no longer need to eat, then only then are you able to fully progress and fully make things all efficient as a whole, right? We think that in government's world, things like this don't happen, right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to die, right? And that brain and your say you're Einstein, right? You're the smartest person that ever lived. You're going to die at the end of the day, right? There's no escaping the fact that your ideas, even as great as they are, maybe it's not during your time. If Einstein was immortal, I guarantee you the things that we have unquestioned, the things that we have questioned can be answered. Now let's continue, right? First of all, we have to understand that what are the impacts of having these things unpublished, right? We have to realize that making things like this unpublished, and they try to say that somehow no one will be able to know that these things exist at all, right? We think that this is completely false. Something like this cannot happen because at the end of the day, at least the people who develop this thing are going to know that it exists, right? And more likely than not, these things, if left unpublished, are going to be sold to the highest bidder, right? Which means it creates a social segregation towards people who are immortal and towards people who are mortal, right? Now, what this brings to the table now is that people are there is not a social segregation between immortals and mortals. Right? What happens then is that mortals are going to now be seen as ordered to help people who are immortal that are now suddenly gods, right? And we know that all this only happens in government side when things like this are unpublished, right? My second speaker is going to go more into depth into that. But what we tell you the impact is even if these things wasn't true, right? It's somehow everyone nobody knew and nobody was going to take advantage of the fact that these things are secret or are unpublished. We tell you that even then, it is still better on our side as a whole to develop as a species. And with that, go for all. Yeah.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. Without further ado, we invite the Deputy Prime Minister. Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a little reading lesson. Let's look at what the motion is about. We see that assuming that a cure has been found, this House believes that the cure for mortality should remain unpublished. As my first speaker has already told you, which obviously side of opposition clearly did not hear one bit, we say that this debate is about whether or not the cure for mortality should remain unpublished or not. We say that the debate is not about whether or not mortality or immortality is good. We say that the side of opposition has been completely missing the point, which is why the entire case falls just by the first speaker. But firstly, let's point out a few issues in their case, right? Firstly, they tell you that, firstly, they tell you about like the benefits of having immortality. They say that, there's no longer people doing jobs. There's no longer people like working in like agriculture and such. But we tell you that firstly, that's not what this debate is about, as I've already pointed out. But even so, right, even if that was true and we took them at their best case, we tell you that on your side, you have more harm because essentially people on your side are in decreased productivity because you say that people don't work, people don't know the meaning of hard work. We tell you that essence of humanity when people are working so hard in these agricultural jobs, that is when people will know the essence of hard work, and that is when that is when humanity can actually progress as a species. And we tell you that that is how we would develop.
Please.
No, thank you. And then they tell you that, on their side, they're going to have rapid development. But we tell you that, firstly, in society right now, we already have development. We don't understand why it is so urgent for you to suddenly bring up this cure for mortality in order for that to happen. But essentially, you are saying that you are essentially saying that you want people on your side, on your work, to essentially just be robots who are just there to develop. What is the point of you developing if you don't have the true essence of humanity? Yes.
It's also depressing that I'm stuck in a cycle of having to live a 9 to 5 because it's the best way to spend my time on Earth. Please clarify how this is good for us.
Okay. We tell you that every single person in this room is living a 9 to 5 job. What is so bad about you being able to? What is so bad about you knowing the essence of working hard in life? What is so bad about you having those characteristics that a human should have. Then they tell you about social segregation on how suddenly we get social segregation on our side. Huh? We say that social segregation will exist even more on your side. If people knew that there was a cure for mortality, obviously only the highest bidder would be able to buy it, which means that all of the people that could not afford this cure would not get it. We say that that is completely weird for you to even bring up in the first place. Now, let's talk about the impacts and what actually happens what this debate is about. We tell you that on our side, we think that the cure for mortality should remain unpublished, meaning to say that we don't even want people to know that to have the knowledge that this cure exists in the first place. We say that it's even more harmful because even if these people were to not even get that cure in their hands physically, we tell you that that simple mindset of these people knowing that there's a cure for mortality, knowing that I can live forever, is essentially the moment in time in which people are going to think that they are a god. They can think that they can do whatever they want. They don't need to appreciate the people around them, because as science opposition brings out weirdly, they tell you that, oh, if people around them are dying, you would not appreciate life. But I tell you that that is the exact reason why you would appreciate life. Because the point in time in which I know that the person sitting next to me right there is going to die is the moment in time in which I will spend every single moment with her to the fullest. The moment in time in which I know that my grandmother is sitting in a hospital bed dying is the moment in time in which I know that I have to treat her the best because I will not get a second chance at life. We tell you that on your side, when you know that there is a second chance, when you know that you have millions of years to live, you're simply going to not care about other people, because we as humans have this mindset of, if it's endless, then I should not care about it right now. You're going to think that you are untouchable. You will not be careful with the people around you because you know that you will always have a second chance. You will always have a second chance at the end of the day. And even if you don't get it right, even if that cure is still not physically in your hands, that one mindset of you knowing that that one mindset of you knowing that that possibility even exists already has even more harm than whatever side of opposition, than whatever benefit that side of opposition can bring up to you. Next, we tell you about the quality of life that these people are going to live in if they even have knowledge that this cure exists. We tell you that, all right, even if these people, if they know that this cure were to exist, then they're going to think that they're going to think that there's no meaning to appreciate life. Meaning to say that they're going to live the same life every day, right? Because we tell you that when you're immortal, you essentially are not going to die, and you have millions of years to live with nothing stopping you from dying. We tell you that these people are going to live the same life every day. They're going to see the same sunset. They're going to see the same people. They're going to go through the same routine every single day. And what is that? And what happens when a human being lives like that? We tell you that they're going to get bored. And at the end of the day, we tell you that this creates a society that is not productive and does not actually appreciate the people around them.
Could I have a PRA, please? Could you tell me, during your mechanization, who will actually find this cure?
Okay, I think that's pretty weird, so I'm not going to answer that. But at the end of the day, we tell you that the impacts of you telling people that this cure exists is enough harm for us to say that we want to remain unpunished. That people are immortal, won't be stuck in a cycle, and we think that the true essence of life exists when you as a person know that your relationships are going to end. When you as a person know that one day I will not get a second chance to do this and this and that, they're going to appreciate the opportunities around them. They're going to appreciate the types of people that are around them. They're going to make sure that they live their life to the fullest. They're going to make sure that they're going to at least have this sense of, I'm not going to have a second chance, meaning to say that these people are actually going to be better people on our side. Whereas on your side, will you even make people have this mentality that this cure exists? We say that people are simply going to disregard the true essence of human life. These people are simply going to live like robots because they're not living the way that nature intended. We tell you that what differentiates us humans and robots is the simple fact that all living things come to an end. Meaning to say that on our side, we are actually going to appreciate the life that is happening. So I tell you that if you want to live in a world where human beings can actually progress and have actually lived the way that nature and God intended us to be, please vote for side of opening government.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. We now invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
Something my speech in 3, 2, 1. One. Give us. Go slide. Okay, 3, 2, 1. It's been a long life dream to finally achieve the rank masters and boss stars. But I think the fact that I have to go to school and live a strict life because I think that since I quote value my life so much and I'm contingent to achieving a stable job, the fact that my life is so limited and I've set to certain social expectations, right? I think that's the point which I can never really achieve that rank in boss stars. But before that, on the most serious note, a bit of clarifications I call out, moving to a few responses and a bit of argumentation, and if I have enough time, a bit of comparatives, right? First, I want to call out the clarifications. Let's make a clear picture of what the difference between a mortal's and immortal's life looks like. First off, a mortal's life looks like you being born, then having worked your ass off to finally go probably live a 9 to 5, not being able to appreciate things like mother nature or go to do the things you've ever dreamed of. For example, the same way I dream of being probably a rapper, but the reality is I have to become a doctor to live a full life because that's the only way for me to, buy things with monetary value, right? The fact that now I as an individual I'm put to certain expectations in which I cannot achieve a certain dream, I will tell you at that point certain things like self-actualization, wanting to achieve my dream or do the things I want to do in my life can never be achieved. Much like the majority of adults who regret not being able to, achieve their own childlike dream, right? What's the difference then on our side? Tell you it's simple. The point at which now I am immortal, right? The point at which I'm not set by these certain boundaries, the point in which time is simply relative, like Einstein said. I think that things like having to keep up with a certain time or being placed under the burden that I cannot do certain things in life simply because there's not enough time is never going to be an issue anymore. I'll explain this a bit later in my argumentation. We have a few responses. First off, they push us that you're going to appreciate life more, just value its limited. Let's look at with you what is the limitation looks like, or what is appreciation of life looks like. But let's be charitable in a way. They tell us that apparently you're not going to value things like the death of your grandmother who's on the deathbed, right? We tell you a few things here. First off, we value these things more. Why is this? The fact that my grandmother is not dying because of old age, things like giving her immortality is fine, going to allow her to live longer and allow me to go closer with my grandma. The fact that things now like relationships can be closer bonded, the fact that I can self-actualize and achieve my needs is far better. Things like losing relationships or not appreciating things like love can never really happen on our side, and we don't see why. Second of all, didn't tell us that apparently people are going to become reckless. Few responses to this. First off, I tell you I'm not going to go crazy bonkers and go on the street and probably dance naked. We tell you things like the law, CDS, and current systems are still going to be in place. Things like, allowing individuals or putting them under certain restrictions are still going to apply. But let's assume that best case and assume that apparently things like the CDS and law can never really exist. Why is this still better? We tell you comparatively, allowing an individual to do whatever they want, give them the freedom of choice, allow them to self-actualize, we tell you the impacts then are far better. Second of all, what do we tell you then? We tell you even if it's true, like to further prove why things like the laws, yes, would be suddenly fall down. Things with monetary value or people want to appreciate or crawl up the things like the corporate ladder still exists. The fact that now cops still want to become a lawyer or vice versa still exists. We have to a bit of argumentation. First off, we tell you on the entire idea of salvaging relationships or allowing relationships to last longer. First thing, for a few layers here. First off, on things like meeting loved ones forever is exclusive to our side. The fact that now you don't have to worry that one day your girlfriend might die of cancer is never really going to be a thing. The fact that now I as an individual can continue to love my girlfriend forever and ever. The fact that now things like sicknesses or accidents is never going to stop. Then putting me in depression can never really happen after you need to sit down. Moving on, what does this look like? Things like appreciation for life will never really fall off. Why is this? We tell you it's simple. Humans are intuitively greedy. The fact that humans are greedy, they always are curious and have a need to pursue for things that are more. The point at which you now give them the time to do these things, the point at which they can fulfill these needs, we tell you it's far better. And things like appreciation for life will never go away. What the impacts then? It looks simple. Things like your mental health is going to continue to increase, which you simply have no worries or no stress and only going to have happy days. The way you're sitting down in your chair and having a good time. Second of all, even if you don't believe this and you still think that apparently a billion years you're suddenly going to be floating with space is a far worse outcome. We tell you, even if this is true, at least I get to be with my girlfriend, and even if this isn't as good, we tell you it's going to be billions of years away. What's the second argument here? We tell you things like advancement for humans as a species and as an individual is still applicable, but before that, you see me good.
If you want to see the same person as alien, so that, oh, you can see your girlfriend every single day for the rest of your life, don't you think that you'd be bored and not actually meant that relationship?
Yeah, but the point at which I have enough time to go out to somewhere like the Bahamas, I probably 24/7 from the moment I wake up to the moment I sleep every single day just because I'm immortal. Please get that line of logic clear. Moving on, entire idea of advancements as a species and as a person individually. First off, not that we already referred to you that the largest barrier in this debate or as an individual or as an entire species is things like time. The fact that you have a limited amount of time is more than enough reason for you not to do certain things or to take certain things like this. For example, when you're younger, you probably wanted to go skateboarding, but you realize, hey, maybe it's not enough time or enough effort to be put in because I simply have to study. The point at which I'm now immortal, the point at which I can do these things because that huge barrier has been lifted, we tell you it's far better. Why is this so? We tell you it looks simple. The point at which Maslow's hierarchy needs of laws have been succeeded, the point at which I can achieve my dreams, I can achieve things or maintain things like love and having long-lasting relationships, we tell you it's better. What does this mean? Like, it looks simple. The entire idea of like when life moves fast, sometimes you gotta sit back and appreciate life. What does this mean, right? We tell you it looks simple. The point at which now I have more time, or the entire species has more time, which people are more likely going to take risks. Things like you finally being able to create like the next NASA fuel rocket, right? We tell you things like that can finally happen. The point in which things like time limitation towards a certain individual who may be very gifted. For example, great minds like Einstein would be able to be left dead. The point at which we have these individuals continue to help people in society and on the ground and educate the next generation, we tell you it's a far better impact. Next off, they didn't tell the entire idea of social segregation in the case in which these things are unpublished and it's probably going to be sold off to the highest bidder. They tried to flip it onto us by repeating our entire argument. Why is this right? We tell you social segregation is going to happen in their worst case scenario in which these things are unpublished and which is going to sold to probably the biggest bidder. Why is this? We tell you things like social segregation is going to happen. The same way that now immortals are going to be, seen as gods, in which mortals are not fodder, we tell you it's far more worse. They didn't try to push us going to happen on our side, but we already told you that the majority of people are going to be these individuals, and we don't see this happening. What's the comparative then? We tell you it looks simple. We're the only side we can tell you that now we're going to protect the people on the ground. We're going to ensure that they can actually self-actualize and maintain their dreams and whatever hopes they have to continue to advance as a species in terms of technology and also as an individual. For all those reasons, opposition.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. To open the debate for the closing half, we invite Member of Government. Here.
This.
Panel. We say that the question of immortality comes with many flaws, whether one would still feel pain, whether one would suddenly be granted perfect health and immunity, and we say that in every situation that is ambiguous, we do not want to publish it for the harms it causes. Now, before I get on to this debate, I want to analyze what the top half has done and how exactly they have failed in actually fulfilling their roles in today's debate. A few things to point out when opening. Firstly, I want to say that they have failed to actually characterize what a world with immortality would look like. And number two, they have also failed to provide analytical links to why the harms or benefits of immortality is so significant. This is why opening half completely fails in today's debate. So what am I going to do next? I'm going to be recharacterizing on side of closing government. So first of all, we have to understand what this debate is actually about and what we have to define. This debate is about whether immortality should be given for public access when it is published. Now, this means that everyone is going to have access to it, and we say that this raises a problem. Now, second layer of setup, let's actually contextualize today's debate. Because imagine that in the context of an autocratic countries or countries where the people in power are not in the hands of a democracy, for example, like Russia, or most governance in the Middle East are passed down by families, for example, right? We say that in these autocratic countries, granting these dictators immortality will mean the perpetuation of suffering, something that opposition is going to have to face with. Now, because of this, the cure if the cure of mortality gets in the hands of people like Kim Jong-un, he's probably going to restrict its access to the civilians because they want to consolidate their power. A very big harm on their side. And number three, how do we win today's debate? It's quite simple. We say that on the metric that you should, we say that in this debate, the metric that you should consider is whether the cure to mortality really brings self-actualization to all beings. And we'll prove to you how this is exactly false and take today's debate. So I'm going to be going over my rebuttals. So the first thing that opening opposition tells you is they give you the utopian argument that, hey, immortality is going to solve all of our problems. This means no illness, don't have to work, don't have to eat, and so on. Now, we say that the people on your side of the house will one day run out of things to keep them satisfied, to keep them happy. Because when you're immortal, imagine, yes, this might give you a lot of short-term benefits, like happiness in the short term, but once you live for thousands of years, you are going to have to find things to actually satisfy you. Therefore, what do these people opt into? We say that these people on their side of the house are more likely to have to opt into materialistic forms of happiness, like consumption, wealth, luxury, but we say that this bottomless pit of wanting to get more and more and more won't end. Therefore, at the end of the day, these people are left depressed and unsatisfied because the life that they live, which is immortal, has nothing left to provide for them. And how does this affect the human psyche? We say that this is how psychopaths are formed, because instead of craving normal things that you've gotten is unsatisfied of, you start craving for more extreme things like violence. So therefore, we say that the misery that you feel from being immortal is not eternal because you run out of things that can actually satisfy you after thousands of years. So on our side of the house, we completely avoid this perpetuation of suffering because we say that it's better to die than live a very agonizing life. This is exactly how opening opposition completely blown out today's debate. So I'll be moving on to my actual substance. That is my argument on the consolidation of power. Because, and this is going to be my macro argument. Understand that we give you examples like how CEOs of monopolies and companies are going to be able to continuously stay in power when they are able to stay immortal. This tells you that for monopolies that already exist, like for example like Apple or Google, these giants will never be able to have a shift in management that promotes more opportunity for the people on the floor because the people on top want to consolidate in power, they want to stay in power. This means that for other corporations and local companies, they won't be able to overtake these giants because of the long-lasting connections that these immortal giants already have and established. The impact from this is simple. Before that.
You saying things like Apple or the dictators continue to consolidate power is only going to happen, but not everyone is an immortal, in which it's only going to be given to these certain people. Please clarify.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is, we have these people that are already rich in the first place. Now they can use this immortality to stay rich. This looks like a world where people who are already rich, they stay rich. People who are poor, they can never climb up the ladder. We say that it's inherently harmful on your side of the house. So the impact from this is that the same companies that dominated this market will stay in power forever, and this destroys the opportunity for local firms and people in developing countries to actually build their corporations to develop. So this is a world where, I've said before, rich countries stay rich, and developing countries, they will never be able to actually climb that ladder. We say that this is inherently harmful on your side of the house. But secondly, I want to talk about eternal dictatorships, because understand what this world would actually look like. It looks like a world where dictators like Kim Jong-un can live forever. And because of this is horrible for two reasons exactly. First of all, this means the eternal perpetuation of suffering towards the civilians. And secondly, the consolidation of power, which means that the people on the floor, they won't be able to actually protest. They won't be actually able to opt out of this suffering. Therefore, we say that when you make these people immortal, when you make immortality accessible to these dictators, society can't even fight back. Because even if the entire North Korean population were to retaliate and to protest or form coups, here's the thing, you can't kill Kim Jong-un now. You can't do anything to actually take this person out of power. Therefore, things like torture will forever exist and harm people on their comparative. So, what is it that we're trying to propose on our side of the house? We say that we avoid all these harms, we are actually able to live with mortality. Because on our side of the house, at least this perpetuation of agony does not exist, and people can actually value things more like contemporary needs. For example, like relationships are going to be more strong when you know the scarcity that actually is tangible to it. And because of this, we say that on our side of the house, relationships are better off. Why? Because of this scarcity. Because when you know that you're not going to be able to see your mother and your father in like 10 years' time, you think that, hey, I'm going to make the best of what I have right now. So because of this, the impacts from this is, first of all, yes, we achieve one, better relationships. Two, we achieve the self-actualization when your happiness isn't contingent upon these materialistic things. And last of all, yeah, we create a better life for the people living in the world, and we avoid the harms that dictators can pose onto us. For all these reasons, I'm proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, member of government, to start the debate for the closing opposition with my member of opposition. Here.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that side-opening government lives in sunshine and rainbows, blinded by the truth. But over the truth, in your eyes, you'll see side-closing opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, let's actually give you some clearer picture of what the motion and the debate actually wants you to talk about today. Number one, we believe that on both sides, it is not a debate about the cure existing or not. It's a debate whether the cure should be published publicly or not. Number one, why would there still be people who want to live forever? Number one, there's people who are there's people that want to do a lot more to do in life. Number two, there's people who fear death. Number three, there's people who do not want to leave family members. And number four, there's people who don't want to go to hell. Now, why do we believe that it is impossible on their side for no one to actually know about these things? Number one, let's give out a characterization that a scientist finds it, but they couldn't say a scientist finds it, I don't know what. Let's look at if a scientist finds it, he would of course tell other people, maybe the boss, maybe the girlfriend, maybe a billionaire who wants to live forever. Now, the motion talks about publishing. However, the recipe of McDonald's was found or is existed, but it was never published publicly. That is what the motion wants us to talk about, either to have it secretly or publicly published. Wow. Now, let's look at my debaters in today's debate. They say that who will actually, they don't think that it's important to know who will actually find the cure. However, I believe that it's important to look at the psychology of who will actually find the cure. If it is a scientist, what are the interests of the scientist? And if it's a billionaire or the government, what are the interests of the government to do to these people when it found the cure? Yet, no mechanism, nothing. They don't even want to answer my PRI. Secondly, they talk about the value of life, how it's going to be so boring. However, in our world, I believe that there's going to be a new value of life. You don't need to care about the other one anymore, because now it becomes a value of where do you want to go today. The world is vast, the universe is infinite, and it's impossible for you to get bored in something that is infinite before that, yes.
Don't you think that this is a valid debate and we shouldn't actually argue on the logistics, but rather what the motion wants?
This house believes that Even if it is a value motion, you need to really understand what the motion wants. Is it published or was it never found or no one knows about it? I believe that published can be understood a lot of different, and I will tell you why my characterization is the best here. Now let's look. Let me say talk about criminals will increase. However, I believe that it is in the natural check of balances of life that already exists today. If you do a crime, jail still exists. When you go to jail, you will still get rehabilitated on outside, and people will still not want to stay in jail to stay still for 10 years. These things still exist on outside, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, they talk about how people like Kim Jong-un will stop the cure or to be spread. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's okay because when you have immortal people, those people will remember the pain of the Korean War or remember the pain of Kim Jong-un. This looks like the South Korean. This looks like the people who escaped North Korea. Even after 200 years, they will still remember the bad things these governments do, and there will always be opposition in rallies, maybe third-party countries like USA. They will always pressure them. Secondly, even on your side, the heirs of the throne who died will just continue to do all these bad things because number one, that these things will still exist on your side. And even if you cannot kill him, you can still protest, you can still put him out of power. If he's in jail, he cannot do anything, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's look at, they talk about materialistic happiness. So what if they have so happy? Because this is a bodily autonomy that I will explain later, it's not so important. Now they talk about long-lasting monopolistic giants. However, ladies and gentlemen, at least on outside, poor people can actually climb the ladder. At least we are able to work on these things forever. With more time, with more experience, can you actually have more chances to get rich? And on their side, companies will still just go give it to their sons, and these giants will still exist. I don't see a correlation in that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the stance I give up to this debate. Ladies, I believe that making immortality should be an option and a right to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, in the name and on the principle of accessibility, we need to allow everyone to have a right to choose for immortality. We believe that through publishing the recipe or the cure, it will mean that every single human knows that there is an option to live forever, even if they don't have access, there is an option and they know that this option exists. Without the publishing, we have to believe that there will still, even if it's not published, we still believe that there will still be people who will become immortal. This looks like scientists, this looks like really rich people who are able to buy the cure from the scientists, and it's likely that these people who have power will do miles to get these cures exclusively, these cures exclusively. In your world, there will be people who have immortality and there will be people who don't have immortality, and it becomes unfair. Let's look at a world where poor people don't have immortality and rich people have immortality. Now, people who are poor, they don't have an option in your world. Now, why is this actually important? It becomes a principle of ethics of the founder. Should it be published or not from the scientists? It becomes pretty impossible also for you to hide the fact that you are immortal. In the case of exclusively, there will be people who took it and there will be people who live forever, and you cannot hide the fact that they live forever. One of the three is that guy living for 200 years. You cannot hide this fact. Now, the moment when you have such a huge privilege for these privileged people, we believe that what will become is social uproar. You have people with infinite money because they live so long to get all of that money, and you have people who die violently because we are poor, they cannot buy those skills. We believe with this, the potential magnitude of social uproar will actually happen. There will be two different sides of the world. It will be an uproar between the rich and the poor will increase, and rather than protecting life, we are protecting the quality of life. You actually have more people dying, but a world destroyed because of the anger to the uproar and the violence. Now, why will people be so mad? It's really simple. When they have something that I want that's something I will be very, very jealous. Now let's look at my second argument, where we believe that it should be a bodily choice to do whatever you want in your life. Why do we think that this is so important? It shouldn't matter what the flag they want. However, the government is a whole another person and not the person who will make the choice to actually go immortal or not. With different people making a choice for me, it's not right. If it doesn't cause harm to another person, why should I be penalized for it? If I don't make any harm to another person, it should be my choice. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you really want a life where everyone is accessible and everyone has the right to live or not, vote for side closing opposition.
Yeah. Thank you, member of opposition, for that fight. Please close the debate from government side, in fact, government with. Yeah.
Ladies,
Yeah.
ladies, gentlemen, panel. Life is bad, but immortality is even worse. But I'm first going to get into the three things I'll be covering in my speech. First of all, our responses to the opposition side. Then I'll be doing a couple of call-outs, and then I'll be weighing both sides, seeing who wins. So, onto my responses. I'll be tackling this issue by issue, and the first one is they say to let people suffer is morally wrong because suffering is bad, etc., etc. However, I have a couple of responses to this. First of all, suffering is what gives life meaning in the first place, because suffering itself acts as a comparative to happiness. That is to say that if you don't suffer at all, then your happiness doesn't matter because it's your default. In the end, what you get is a net neutral situation, and your happiness doesn't mean anything. Secondly, grinding or just working hard for something is what allows us to appreciate the value that we have, or the value of the things that we have, because things only have value if I give it value, right? That's to say that working, suffering, etc., that's what gives it value. It's basic supply and demand, right? Because, if this thing costs something and that the cost of that is valuable to me, of course that thing would have value. Next. And logically, due to things like recency bias, which is people's want to have something quicker rather than just wait for a bigger reward, of course society would flock to get this cure because their incentives to do so are shallow. And even if they weren't, they can't predict what's going to happen in the next 1,000 years. Right? Which means that this is going to be an uninformed decision. And then they go out and say, okay, but what about food and water? We wouldn't need that, right? Which means we will have less problems in the world, right? First of all, I'm going to respond to this. Grinding is what gives things later. Grinding is what gives things. Working hard is what gives things value. If you don't work hard for anything, that means your life will just be boring. It'll just be a flat line forever. Which is why mortality is already at the very best case of the word, and net neutral, right? But that also means that the industry of food and water will just crash because there's no more demand, even though supply is there, right? And food and water don't matter in the first place because if you're immortal, you won't want more because more isn't enough, right? More doesn't last forever. Even if you stray from food and water to pursue something else, that something else will not provide you any value because that value doesn't matter. Yes. Closing.
Given that it doesn't give any bodily harm to another person, why should the government be justified to take away my rights?
Ooh, okay. This is a hard one. I'll answer this later. Okay. In terms of laws, right, they say that people won't violate the law because it's the law. Right. But this doesn't matter because if you have infinite life and you get a limited sentence, that means that the value of time that you spend inside prison, it doesn't matter. Right? So laws have no point anymore, and fines are redundant because if you're immortal, money isn't needed. You don't need anything to survive. You're infinitely sustainable, right? Which means we don't actually have an effective rehabilitation method, right? And then, opposition goes up and says, "So let's be charitable." And then they say they're okay with people committing crimes due to the fact that it's in their bodily autonomy. This dismantles itself, so I'm still going to cover it. It's not okay if you take away the autonomy of other people because that's not in your right, right? Other people have autonomy too. If you're taking it away, that's morally wrong. And then they talk about, the curative immortality being sold to the highest bidder, even if it's not going to be published, which first is irrelevant to this debate. It's whether or not this should be revealed to the public. If it's not revealed to the public, how is it going to be revealed otherwise? And also, these scientists don't really have any incentive to sell it to the highest bidder, or at the very least, any incentives that they do have are outweighed by the potential harms, right? Because my side has already stated that infinite dictators will exist, and then you get monopolies, etc., etc. And then they move on to things like, oh, Einstein's going to live forever. We're going to have technological development, but that's cool. Two responses. First of all, it implies that you're going to use him as a guinea pig forever. He's going to be your slave, developing technology forever and ever because he's immortal. And I just want to let him retire. Let people live a good life if that's what you really want. And secondly, this advancement doesn't matter if the material value that you bring doesn't have any meaning. As I stated earlier, if you're immortal, things will have no value. Right. So moving on to closing. First of all, they stated, oh, if we're immortal, then people will actually start taking risks. First of all, because risk won't actually matter in a society that's immortal, and yeah, we're finding that trade-off because the alternative is extreme. If you aren't risking your life, then if you choose to not risk your life, and your alternative is just living forever and having the risk to do so be meaningless, then you might as well just not live if you're really going to just suffer anyway, right? Which means that not taking risks doesn't matter, because even if you're immortal and you do take risks, the decision doesn't matter, because in the end, you're immortal. Next, well, they stated that if we do get a dictatorship, then people will know because, oh, how is he living forever? Two responses. First of all, the dictators, CEOs, whatever, they're aware of this. It's basic human logic. And if they are, then there's ways that they can work in the shadows, etc., etc. Or they could just let it happen. Why won't this stop people from getting the cure? Because of things such as access. Just because an all-powerful, all-rich dictator has the ability to get this immortality potion or whatever, doesn't mean that the general public can, which means that even if they do reveal themselves as immortal, the harms will not always manifest. And then, next of all, closing says that, if Kim Jong-un becomes dictator, that's okay, because people will remember the pain. But that's not really a justification. They're saying that they're okay with people experiencing suffering, and even though, yes, suffering is good in some amounts, excessive suffering and dictatorships are just agonized, it's just automated agony. Like, come on, we don't want a world that's filled with suffering. It's suffering and then, happiness. And then they don't elaborate on the point where they'll be pressured by the US, even though, they're far outside of their influence. And then next they talk about the right to choose, which is where your QY comes in. First of all, people aren't qualified to make this decision because of the fact that they lack the foresight to see what will happen in the future, right? And this doesn't ignore, this ignores the complete collateral damage that occurs when you do so, right? And then since people lack the foresight, they won't be able to make any informed decisions, and they won't be able to, and they'll make a decision that they'll regret. Thus, it's not really that good of a choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Government Whip. To end the final of IUM IDC 2024, we invite the Opposition Whip. Here.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's disappointing to me that the only thing I'll get after this debate is a trophy, a few medals away, but not the member of government's number. I'll prove why. This debate lacks the proper substantials in actually discussing the reality when the cure is found and whether it's published or not. Yes, we do credit all the principle and arguments that answer the question of mortal versus immortal, but what was lacking is what would actually happen in the status quo when the cure is not published. Panel, credit the way the fact that closing opposition is the only side that plays on reality. We discussed on both principally why immortality is good and what are the harms practically of not publishing the cure when it is found. The only other side that I can credit for a little insertion is opening opposition telling us that they actually create a choice for people being immortal, right? Only then did opening government tell us how not everyone will be accessible, and I'll answer that in my speech, right? Now, closing government then comes in the debate with a correct understanding, but still failed to answer why publishing is harmful in the first place. Understand the cure is already found based on the motion, right? And because they didn't attack our characterization and we played on their characterization, we still stand. Sit down. Questions to answer on Gov. Two things. Who created the cure and what do you mean by publishing, right? And for that, a few rebuttals in my speech today. Firstly, society wouldn't fight back towards dictators, right? Now, if four responses towards that, right? If killing dictators was a choice in the first place, knowing they can die, why hasn't that been done yet, right? Secondly, being immortal is not being resistant to pain, but if you say you want to retaliate, go ahead. It's not bulletproof, right? The question of dictatorship is not whether we can take him down, since it was never possible in the first place. And even when we take a dictator down, as my member of opposition has said, how is it then that they prove no other dictators that have the same influence and same agendas as these past dictators will rise up there? Secondly, they tell us how they can't predict what will happen in 100 years. We tell you how this argument is mutually exclusive and their case false, because I don't know what's going to happen in 5 minutes. And the clearest example is COVID-19, right? Now let's move on to the cases of of closing opposition in today's debate. 5 cases in today's debate. Firstly, sit down. The cure being published is the first step in accessibility, right? Understand the essence of this case is to allow everyone to know there is a cure, not only in terms of getting the cure in solid form, but also the derived formula and recipe of the cure from hospitals or even private sectors to work on this cure themselves, right? The question of accessibility answered in this case is not the accessibility for people to actually have the cure, because I'll answer this question in my speech later, but the accessibility for working bodies to know and open opportunities given by them to society, allowing the society to have the possibility to live forever, be it if the cure is given by private sectors or even government hospitals, right? Second case run on site, closing opposition, how the rights for people to know they can work for immortality exist on our side, right? Understand, closing opposition doesn't put into expense the chance of birth lotteries, right? Where people are born privileged. And we take note that these cures are not going to be easily accessible due to the cost to actually produce and sell this cure, right? What we fight for is, as everything else in this world, the chance and hope for people to actually work and be dedicated for being immortal, right? The principle of immortality becoming a goal for people to have a passion of just like any other person having an ambition or anything like that for them.
Yes, so mortality might be in your right. However, when people regret that immortality, you don't have an opt-out method. How is that better on your side of the house?
So what? It was their choice in the first place. That's what we ran for. And we tell you how it's completely valid for them to have that choice in the first place. And I'll answer that in my speech later. Right? Now, yes, we understand. Yes, we understand that people in poverty has a lower chance to be immortal, but we ask, so what? At least on our side, we have the hope that there is a chance for us to actually be immortal in the first place, right? I'm so sorry. Okay. At least on our let me rephrase, okay? At least on our side, we have hope that there is a chance for us to be immortal, and we trade that off with the chances of people abusing immortality on government. I'll explain that later. Take note that government still failed to answer who found this cure in the first place and who will keep it unpublished, right? Yes, we condone to the fact and the principal ideas of not allowing immortality, but not taking into consideration the second major principle of this debate, whether this cure should be published and how not keeping it published has no risk, right? Government has to answer what on their side, there is no possibility for anyone who holds the cure to abuse the power they hold and cause more harms than good. Unpublished doesn't mean that it's a secret, it just means that it's not open for the public. Government then fails to prove why immortality being a choice suddenly means everyone will opt to being immortal, right? This looks like religious belief that say death is inevitable. Third case, why is bodily autonomy important? And fourth case, social uproar and the effects of not publishing, right? Which relates to my third. Understand that the fact of people who create these cures have the incentive to not spread these cures, but use these cures for their own benefit. This will only cause people at the end of the day to suddenly find out these people are immortal, since suddenly Pharrell Williams looks forever young, right? And fifthly, why the essence and benefits of living forever still exist on both sides. The more principled argument both sides argue on, right? What's the clash in today's debate? Why immortality is back versus the choice to actually be immortal. Let's break it down into being immortal versus not being immortal, right? Opening government runs on a few cases. Number one, immortality causes people to lose the principle of life. People will learn to care more since they know they have to cherish the final moments, yada yada yada, right? Without it's more than enough of a reason to love people more when you are immortal, since you know you have to spend the rest of your days together, and the only way for you to continue being together is to love each other. And okay, even when they say we'll get bored, sure, but so what? If you get bored, it's something that happens in most relationships in status quo. Yeah, it happens more on our side, but at the end of the day, A, remember that we give a choice for people to choose. And sure, B, that if immortality is the case, it'll just be a new cycle of life. So be it, because if a person if as a person, they trade that off with the other benefits of living forever, we say it's completely valid and their choice, right? Opposition tells you in our case, at the end, it's their choice. Will you choose to live forever? And if it's by us getting wealthy, so what? If that's their way of happiness, so be it, since we give a choice. And if their way of happiness is materialistic, at the end of the day, it's their own opinion. B, publishing the cure versus not publishing. The second subclash. Why do you publish? To make it accessible for everyone? To give the right for people to work for immortality if they want, right? Now, government's choice to keep the cure unpublished in the hands of an unknown body that they never defined is invalid. They cannot just argue why it's bad for immortality. Why is it exclusive on our side? Not only do we give the rights, but we also understand the essence of incentives. Not only monopolies can still happen on your side, not only when there is no immortality, but when the cure is kept unpublished in the hands of the wrong people, while the only people that know, we tell you that monopolies can arise due to them being the only people that can live forever. Right? Now, to end this debate, I end with this note. We have a vision, we have a mission. We have a vision.
Thank you to the opposition whip. That marks the end of the debate. Thank you to all debaters. Thank you, judges. Thank you, observers. I'll pass the floor back to the MC.
Thank you, Brother Hanafi. So everyone, let us give a big round of applause to all of our debaters for today. So debaters, you may take your seats in the hall with everybody else. Honorable guests, brothers and sisters, while our judges are evaluating the scores, let's take a brief break and we'll gather back to continue with the prize giving ceremony. Attention to all debaters. The results will be announced tomorrow during the prize giving ceremony. Thank you.
Dia kan kalau dah panik kan, dia panik macam bangang tu. Okay. Saya diam.
Perhatian pada semua penonton. Anda diminta untuk memenuhkan kerusi di bahagian hadapan. Bila suara, perhatian kepada semua para penonton. Diminta untuk